Hello, everybody. Am I visible and audible to everyone? Hello. Am I visible? I think yes. Yes, I'm visible. So, hello. Welcome to the class. Just give me a second. Okay? I left my pen on the other table. Okay, let us quickly begin. Hello everyone, welcome to the class. My name is Khadijatul and I teach biology here at the NEET Success Simplified channel. Okay, let me go to YouTube again and check if the video is running properly and we do not have any lag. Yes, seems like yes. Yes, seems like everything is okay. Okay, so let us quickly begin with today's class. So today we will talk about human health and diseases. I know we have immunity specifically mentioned in the thumbnail. We will see if time permits, we will talk about immunity as well. But today's agenda mostly will be to complete the entire disease part of human health and diseases. Yes, we did talk about it a little bit in the introductory lecture, which was the first lecture of human health and diseases. But today we will complete the complete disease part of human health and diseases. Okay, so let us start freshly. Okay, let us start afresh this whole chapter. And so again, whoever is watching this video, I think this video will be sufficient for the disease part of human health and diseases. It is not required to go back and watch the earlier video. It's not that I'll repeat it, but we will revise and we will quickly revise through whatever we discussed in our previous class. Okay, so first thing first, when we study a particular chapter, we are always in the lookout for how many questions we will get in NEET from that particular chapter, right? So from human health and diseases, we can expect 3 questions. Why is the cursor not working? Okay, we can expect 3 questions from human health and diseases. All right, and we already know human health and diseases is divided into 3 parts. Common diseases is the first part, then we talk about immunity, then we talk about drugs. Now, most students have this love-hate kind of relationship with immunity. I mean, diseases is something which everybody likes because, when you become doctors, this is what you're going to deal with all your life. So diseases is something that not many people complains, but immunity is the part which many people has this hatred kind of relationship, which for sure, if you watch my lecture, you will fall in love with immunity. That is a guarantee. Okay, and then we have drug abuse, which is not a very vast topic, but also an interesting and a very awareness kind of topic in this human health and diseases. Okay, now without wasting much time, let's do a quick revision of what we discussed already in this particular chapter. We discussed about diseases, how disease was how what the concept of disease was in the time of Hippocrates or ancient Greeks, right? Hippocrates came up with the good humor hypothesis. He came up with good humor hypothesis, through which he said that body is said to be healthy when a person has these 4 fluids in equal balance in their body. Okay, and what are those 4 fluids? It is blood, phlegm, which we also known as bulgum or the cough, then black bile and yellow bile. And he also said that if a person has excess black bile, that means that person will have a very hot personality. Now, hot doesn't mean the hot that you are assuming in your head. Hot here means a person with a very hot temper. Okay, he will have a very hot temper, and then he will also have higher body temperature. That is what Hippocrates came up with. Okay, through his good humor hypothesis. Then this particular gentleman came into the picture. His name is William Harvey. William Harvey discovered blood circulation. He said that, hey, look, people, we have these channels in our body, vessels in our body through which this red color fluid flows. It is not like it is allowed to spread in the entire body. We have their specific pathways through which this flows, and he called it the blood circulation. And he also showed using thermometer that every person has on an approx same body temperature. A person who has excess black bile will also have same body temperature. It is only when a person has fever, it is only then that person has higher body temperature. Okay, so he discarded the humor hypothesis or good humor hypothesis of Hippocrates. So this was an ancient story. Okay, now we need to know what the recent story is, what the recent science tells us. Okay, the World Health Organization, let me write it here. Okay, the World Health Organization said that health is a state of body and mind where a person is disease free. Okay, and he is physically fit, he is mentally fit, and he is also socially fit. So the World Health Organization gave us these 3 parameters. Okay, in the first parameter, he said that a person will have to have physical fitness. Physically, he should be sound. Okay, and then number 2, he should be mentally sound as well. Mentally sound as well. And number 3, socially sound as well. Social well-being. This is what WHO told us. Okay, I wrote it. Let me write this part. Okay, let me take this part here. Okay, cool. So World Health Organization said that a person is healthy when he is physically fit, mentally working properly, and socially he has that social well-being. I mean, it's not like physically though you are fit, you are disease free. Okay, but then when you go out in the society, you are not able to interact with your neighbors, you don't have good terms with your friends, and you are you do not go really very well with the society that a person lives in. Human beings are social animals, right? Like ants or termites, we say that they live in colonies, they are social animal. Why? Because they cannot live alone, they need a colony. Same way, we humans are social animal. So if you are very awkward socially, then there is something wrong, you cannot be called healthy. This is what we already discussed. Okay, let's not elaborate it further and talk about what we discussed disease is. So disease is any physical or functional change that causes discomfort from the normal state or impairs the health of a living organism. Okay, in the simple terms, disease simply means, this means what? This means, okay, this means we know what this is, right? Ease means comfort. Ease means comfort. So whenever a person has discomfort, it is disease. So the discomfort could be anything physically. Okay, maybe your it could be anything. Okay, any discomfort that a person feels that is not the normal state. Okay, or it impairs the health. Health means all these 3 different things. if it impairs any of these three different things from the normal state, then we say that a person has disease. Now, the disease was divided into two parts. One was congenital, that means the genetic diseases. Now, there is a whole different group of genetic disease that we need to discuss in our NCERT textbook. And we have already started genetics in this particular channel. So if you have not watched this video, watch the video of genetics. You can go back, watch all those videos to understand or to have a good grasp of all the genetic diseases. Okay, but don't go there yet, because first of all we need to complete the human health and diseases ka disease part here. Okay, all right. So we will not talk about congenital or genetic disease here. These are genetic disease or chromosomal disease. We will not talk about those here. Here we are going to talk about the acquired disease, the disease which we don't get by birth, but we acquired them through exposures. Okay. Now these acquired diseases are again of two different types. It is either communicable or non-communicable. What is communicable? When a disease is easily transferred from one person to another, then we say it is a communicable disease. But if a disease is not transferred, okay, it is not transferred from one person to another, then we say it is non-communicable. We also learned, or we also discussed, that communicable diseases are caused by bacteria, virus, protozoa, fungi, or in short, any pathogenic disease is communicable, and diseases which are not caused by pathogens are non-communicable. So the biggest or the most hot example for communicable disease is AIDS, which we will learn in detail in this particular chapter. And then we have non-communicable disease. In the non-communicable disease, the one which is widely spoken about and we will read about it in detail is cancer. Okay, these two are very important. We will have separate classes for AIDS and cancer, maybe the class that we will have tomorrow. In that we will talk about AIDS and cancer. So what is non-communicable disease? The one which is caused by deficiency disorder. If you have some vitamin B, C deficiency, can you transfer it to your friend or to your sibling? No, right? So those are non-communicable disease. Then if you have hypo or hypersecretion of hormones, that is happening in your body. How can you transmit it to someone else, right? Hormones are secreted in your own body because of situations that you have created. If you are super stressed because of your exam result, or maybe because of the NEET examination, then your body will respond to it in a different way, respond to that stress in a different way, and secrete different hormones. That will not happen to your father or to your mother, or you cannot just transmit it to them, right? So those are non-communicable disease. Then we will talk about allergies as well. Now you may have allergy, maybe say for generally it is seen in girls that we have allergies for the imitation jewelry. Every time you wear any jewelry which is not made of gold but of nickel or all other artificial metals, then what happens, we get that itching in our ears, in our neck, right? This happens to me. So these are allergies, but this doesn't happen to my sister, right? So we both are siblings, we have kind of similar genetic makeup also, right? We have same parents, but even then I'm allergic to something and she is not. Weird, right? But yes, allergies is something that I cannot transfer from me to her, or she cannot give it to me. So these are non-communicable. Then again, cancer, it is a condition where our cells go crazy and they multiply like crazy as if there is no limit, and it causes cancer. Again, this is something that happens in our body. I cannot give it to my sister, or my sister cannot give it to me. Drug and alcohol abuse is another thing. Again, if I am a very avid drinker, if I drink a lot of wine or alcohol and destroy my own kidney, well, I cannot, I cannot give it to my friend. It won't hamper my friend's kidney. I understand that you are intelligent enough to understand that. Okay, so this was the funda behind communicable and non-communicable diseases. Okay, so this was the introductory part, and we will quickly move to the first type of diseases, which is bacterial disease. Again, we have discussed about bacterial disease already in our previous class, but today again, let's refresh our memory and let's talk about what we discussed already. Okay, so first of all, we discussed about typhoid. What was typhoid? Here is a hint for you so that you can recall what typhoid was. Typhoid was caused by a bacteria named Salmonella typhi. Okay, Salmonella typhi causes typhoid. It gets into the human body through contaminated food and water. You can see from this image, right? And it goes and infects the small intestine. Okay, so let's talk about how deadly typhoid is. We have this part in our NCRT textbook. So let's read through the lines of our NCRT, okay? So that when we are studying these diseases, we also know what exactly is written in our NCRT, what exact terms are there in our NCRT, okay? So I have added the screenshots of NCRT in my lectures. Okay, you can take your textbook out and underline along with me so that your NCRT, one set of reading of your NCRT is done with me. Okay, after the class, again, you can read it so that two sets of reading would be done for you. All right, so let us quickly begin and talk about what's written in the NCRT. So, typhoid is caused by Salmonella typhi. We know that already. Where it is, what color should I use? Red would be good. Okay. So, Salmonella typhi is the bacteria that causes typhoid. Okay. Is a pathogenic bacterium which causes typhoid fever in human beings. Again, typhoid is a fever, okay? Typhoid fever in human beings. These pathogens generally enter the small intestine. Do you see this person holding his stomach and sitting because it is hurting terribly? Okay, so typhoid caused by Salmonella typhi first enters the small intestine through food and water. Anything that goes through food and water through our mouth, we say that it is fecal-oral contamination. Let me write it here. It is called fecal-oral contamination. Okay, fecal-oral contamination means the pathogen has gone through food or water into our digestive tract. So it goes through food and water, contaminated with them, and migrate to other organs through blood. It won't sit in your small intestine and go out with your stool, okay, go out with your feces. It will perforate your small intestine, get into your blood, and go to all different body organs and can cause multiple organ failure. It is that deadly. Okay, this tiny microorganisms, as we proceed ahead, you will see how dangerous they are. Each of them has the capacity to kill human beings. I mean, if not treated at the right time. Okay, so here we learned that it goes into the human body through food and water and can migrate. It can migrate to, why is the line not proper? Okay, it can migrate to other organs through blood. You see, and then a person has sustained high fever, 39 to 40 degrees Celsius. Look, it is mentioned in your NCRT, so it is important that you remember this temperature as well. Anything in your NCRT is very important that you remember, and with 3-4 times reading of a particular paragraph, it will be imprinted in your memory. Okay, now along with very high fever, a person also has weakness, stomach pain. It is very obvious because it is hurting, it is getting into your small intestine, so you'll definitely have stomach ache, constipation, you will not be able to pass your stool properly, you will have headache, loss of appetite, that means you will not feel like eating anything, are some of the common symptoms of the disease. Now what? Now see what's written here. It can cause intestinal perforation and death may occur in severe cases. If not treated in time, it can cause intestinal perforations. What does that mean now? Well, it can cause, if this is your intestine, it can cause holes in your intestine, okay? It can cause holes in your intestine and can get into the bloodstream. And that will ultimately lead to death of that person. This is how deadly typhoid is. Okay. And one more important point that you all need to remember here is the test through which typhoid is confirmed. If you go to a doctor and tell him that these are the things that's happening with me, my stomach is aching, I'm having headache, I'm having constipation, loss of appetite, and all these symptoms are happening out of nowhere, and I'm also having very high fever, then the doctor will do his own analysis and he would ask you to go for some blood test. And the blood test that will confirm typhoid is the Vidal test. Vidal test is an immunological test where agglutination reaction occurs. Okay, antibody antigen reaction would take place, and through Vidal test confirmation can be obtained that yes, a person has typhoid. Okay, so you don't need to understand how the Vidal test is done, what kind of reaction occurs in there. Just memorizing or keeping in mind the name of Vidal test would be enough for NEET 2024, right? Okay. Now again, we have the name of Typhoid Mary in our NCERT textbook. What is the deal with this Typhoid Mary? Why do we have such a weird name for a woman? Is she the scientist who first discovered typhoid? Well, no, she is not the one. She is someone who spread typhoid like crazy. Okay, she was a cook, and she was a carrier, and asymptomatic carrier. Yeah, that also happens in typhoid. Asymptom. Okay, what is happening? Asymptomatic carrier. That means this Typhoid Mary, okay, her actual name is Mary Mellon. All right, she got typhoid from somewhere, but the typhoid inside her didn't cause any symptom. She didn't get fever, she didn't get headache, she didn't lose her appetite, nothing happened to her. She was an asymptomatic carrier. This typhoid or this Salmonella typhi was inside her, causing no harm to her, but was inside her. Okay, so every time she coughed, okay, every time she sneezed while she was cooking, okay, these bacteria got into the food she made, and whenever she served the food contaminated with Salmonella typhi, those people died at that time because treatment was not available. People had no idea what typhoid was. But after very serious investigation, after after a very thorough investigation was done, that people from this part died, from this particular part of the city died, and they found a link that, oh, this woman was cooking in their households. Okay, so she must be someone who must be poisoning these people. Initially that was thought. Later her blood samples were examined and found out that she actually has a bacteria in her blood called Salmonella typhi, and she was spreading that unknowingly and was the reason behind so many deaths. Okay, so this was the story of Mary Mellon, who is famously known in the medical textbooks as Typhoid Mary. All right, so next is next bacterial disease that we get to see in our NCERT textbooks are diphtheria. So from the image, you can see it is a bacterial infection in this part, in like the part where the esophagus starts. Okay, bacterial infection takes place sometimes in the entire mouth and tongue area as well. If you Google the word diphtheria and you look at the images, it is actually very gross. Okay, in this, the person feels really difficult to gulp things. Okay, and it's very, very painful here. Again, it is caused by a bacteria called Corynebacterium diphtheria. Now look, nothing in detail is given in the NCERT textbook about diphtheria. So we only get the word diphtheria in bacterial diseases. So it is important for us to at least know the pathogen that caused diphtheria. Okay, so for diphtheria, remember it is Corynebacterium diphtheria. Okay, for typhoid, it was Salmonella typhi. For diphtheria, it is Corynebacterium diphtheria. Then we have the word plaque. Plaque, again, in the NCERT textbook, has not been elaborated. We only get the word plaque. Now, what is plaque? It's really interesting to see that in plaque, there are 3 different kind of organisms involved. And what are the different organisms? One is a bacteria. This one here is a bacteria. I hope my cursor is visible to you. Is my cursor visible? Why is the video moving so slow? Is my cursor visible? Yes. Yes or no? I think my cursor is visible. Okay. Okay. Yes. Oh God, ma'am. How long do you need to, check that your cursor is visible or not? So slow you are. I know. Okay, now moving on to plaque. What is plaque? Here, as you can see, 3 different kind of organisms are involved. One is this bacteria, and the other here is an arthropod. Yes, this is an arthropod called the rat flea. Where should I write? First of all, let me use a different color for it. Okay, let's use orange for it. And this here is rat flea. Okay, this is rat flea, and this is rat. This is a human being. I won't write it. And on these okay, so on these rats resides rat flea. Okay, and on these rat fleas, or these rat fleas are actually infected by this bacteria. And what is the name of this bacteria? This is Yersinia pestis. Oh, I have already written it here. Wait a second. Yes, Yersinia pestis is the name of the bacteria. Okay, let me just write YP here. Okay, Yersinia pestis. So these rats, okay, starting from the beginning, okay, on these rats resides rat flea. These rat fleas are infected by Yersinia pestis bacteria. Now what happens if this rat, in some way or the other, comes in contact with the human being directly or indirectly, then this Yersinia pestis bacteria will jump onto human body. What it does then, when this Yersinia pestis comes in contact with human body, it goes into the lymph nodes of human. Okay, it goes to the lymph nodes of human and then slowly migrates to the blood vessels and then destroys the RBCs. And when the RBCs are destroyed, the person becomes blackish. Okay, and that is why it is also called black death. And this plague is it holds a very important place in our history because it has at one time destroyed 1/3 population of Europe. Yeah, it was that deadly. Okay, and again, when it infects the lymph nodes, it is not like they are passing through the lymph nodes to go into the blood. Okay, when it infects the lymph nodes, it causes tremendous havoc in there, and the lymph node swells, especially the axillary lymph nodes, the one which is under the armpits. Okay, when the lymph nodes under the armpits swells, the person has to keep his hand like this. Okay, because it swells up so much, it is deadly. So here, three different kind of organisms involved. One is bacteria, microorganism. Okay, and the other is rat flea, which is an arthropod, and then rat, which is a mammal. All right, so this was third bacterial disease. Again, nothing in detail is given in the NCERT textbook. We only get to see the name of plague. Okay, then fourth important bacterial disease is pneumonia, and about pneumonia we have a little elaboration in our NCERT textbook. Now, pneumonia is caused by either streptococcus or diplococcus pneumoniae. Okay, in our NCERT textbook we have streptococcus pneumoniae mentioned here, but it can be diplococcus pneumoniae as well, and Haemophilus influenzae. Now, these two species of bacteria causes pneumonia. Now, what is pneumonia? I'm pretty sure you have heard this already during COVID as well. A lot of people got pneumonia because it is something that is caused through droplet infection. What is droplet infection now, ma'am? I'll tell you in a little bit. Wait a second. Droplet infection. INF is infection. Okay. Now, in droplet infection, what happens? Maybe someone sneezed. Okay. Okay. This pen would do. Maybe someone sneezed. Now, that person had pneumonia. That means that person had these bacteria, Streptococcus pneumoniae and Haemophilus influenzae, inside of that person. When he sneezed, there was an aerosol created. Droplets in the air was created, right? Because of the sneezing. He allowed those bacteria to move out of his body. Okay, and that bacteria remained in the air for some time. Now, if I happen to pass through that place and I inhaled the same air which was contaminated with streptococcus or diplococcus pneumoniae, then that would get inside my body and would cause serious infection in my respiratory tract. Okay, especially the lower part of let's use blue here. Okay, lower part of the lungs. So in my lungs there will be fluid accumulation. How? I'll tell you in a second. Okay, so this is fluid accumulation in my lungs. Okay, so this streptococcus pneumoniae and Haemophilus influenzae, when it comes and infects these cells of the respiratory tract or the alveoli, what happens? These cells, they get so infected that the interstitial fluid or the fluid near the cells starts getting into the alveolus. Okay, it starts moving into the alveolus. So as a result, alveolus stops to function. What is the function of the alveolus? It is a gaseous exchange membrane, right? So that oxygen from the lungs alveoli can get into the blood vessels, and carbon dioxide from the blood can get into the alveoli. That is the purpose of these alveoli, right? Or the air sacs that we generally call them. But because of the accumulation of fluid in there, this process is obstructed, so there is no proper flow of carbon dioxide and oxygen. As a result, what happens? Carbon dioxide accumulation takes place inside our body, and due to less oxygen, the fingernails and the lips, it turns bluish blackish. Okay, that is pneumonia. Okay, in COVID as well, we saw it was finally leading to pneumonia in a lot of people, right? Because that was again an infection which was a droplet infection, right? Let's read let's read what's written in the NCERT textbook now. So the first part of NCERT that speaks about bacterial disease is this one. Then this is the second paragraph of bacterial disease and last paragraph of bacterial disease. So everything related to bacterial disease was summarized in these two paragraphs in our NCERT textbook. Let's read the second paragraph now. Bacteria like Streptococcus pneumoniae, or we can say Diplococcus pneumoniae as well. Why is the box not made? There you go. Bacteria like Streptococcus pneumoniae and Haemophilus influenzae, make sure you underline these two names because these are the two bacteria that are responsible for the disease pneumonia in humans, which infects the alveoli, air-filled sacs of the lungs. As a result of the infection, the alveoli get filled with fluid, leading to severe problem in respiration. The symptoms of pneumonia includes fever. A person will have fever, chills, cough, and headache. Okay. In severe cases, the lips and fingernails may turn gray to bluish in color. And why that happens? Because of the lack of oxygen. Okay, if the tissue do not get oxygen, they will start to die, and that is why they turn gray to bluish in color. A healthy person acquires the infection by inhaling the droplets or aerosols. Do you see that? It is a droplet infection released by an infected person, or even by sharing glasses and utensils with an infected person. So in any way, if these bacteria get in touch with our body or gets a passage or entry into our body, it will cause pneumonia. And it can also happen if we share glass, okay, utensils with an infected person. So everything should be very nicely clean and it should be hygienic. Okay, now on apart from these two diseases, we also have the names of dysentery, plague, diphtheria, etc. in the bacterial disease section. Okay, out of which we have discussed plague and diphtheria. We will discuss about dysentery in a short while because we have amoebic dysentery where we will discuss dysentery there. These are some of the other bacterial diseases in man. Okay, so this is everything that you get in your NCERT textbook, and we have discussed each of them elaborately. So you can take a screenshot of it, and this is all you will require to revise before your NEET exam about bacterial diseases. Okay, but apart from these two, we also get two very common bacterial disease. Should we study that or leave that part? Should we study that or leave that part? Because most people say that, hey, come on, why to study extra? Let's stick to NCERT. Well, we can do that. We still can do that. But there is no harm in going through extra two diseases, okay? Because anyway, you will get to read about these two diseases in other chapters of physiology. One in locomotion and the other in respiration. Okay, so let us quickly look at two more bacterial diseases. But again, before I move ahead, let me tell you that this is all that you get to see in your NCERT textbook. But let us talk about two more because there is no harm in it. We know that, right? So the two other bacterial diseases are tuberculosis, TB, and tetanus. First, let's talk about TB. What TB is? TB is caused by a bacteria called Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Okay, now TB can happen anywhere in your body. Okay, most people are not aware of it, but TB can happen in your throat, in your bones, in different body parts. But the most prevalent and a very common type of TB is the one that happens in our lungs. Okay, the one that happens in our lungs is the most prevalent one, and it is caused by Mycobacterium tuberculosis. And again, this is a droplet infection. If a person who has TB, he coughs, the bacteria is suspended in the air, and if another person inhales that bacteria from the air, then he will get that infection. Okay, so this TB, what this TB does, it first enters the human body through the respiratory tract, getting to the lungs and releases toxins. Okay, bacteria first enters the body and release toxins. These toxins will start destroying the cells of the lungs. Okay, and then a person will have fever, he will have chills, and then the most deadly stage is the one where the person has blood in his phlegm. That means when he coughs or when he spits, the let me write spit, because that is the word people commonly use. Blood when the person spits. Okay, let's write that. Blood when the person spits. Okay, this is the stage, the most deadly stage, because that person didn't take care of his bacterial infection or the tuberculosis, didn't go to a doctor, and this stage was reached, which is the last stage when he gets to when he gets that blood in his spit. Okay, but nowadays government has very awesome initiatives where they go out and give treatment for free to all the TB patient, and we also get a vaccine which you may have heard of before, called the BCG. Okay, which is a vaccine for TB. All right, so this was about tuberculosis. And again, government of India has also initiated a program called DOTS, where the doctors, they take care of proper medication to the ill patient. Okay, which is again for free. So anyone who has TB, or if you know somebody who is infected with tuberculosis, which is Mycobacterium tuberculosis bacteria, you can suggest them, or at least spread the awareness that government gives you free treatment for it. You only have to go and seek help. Okay, just go to the nearest government hospital and tell them that you feel like you are having TB. Okay, you are having symptoms of TB. Get it checked and get yourself treated. Otherwise, you will not know how many people you will infect. Especially, first and foremost, you will infect your own family members. Okay, so that was about TB. Now let's talk about tetanus. How do we get tetanus? Well, tetanus is an injection, ma'am. We have heard that if we get a cut or a wound, we get that tetanus injection. So tetanus must be an injection. Well, tetanus simply means rapid muscle contraction. And how does it happen? Well, there can be other reasons of rapid muscle contraction. One of them could be a bacterial infection, and that bacteria is Clostridium tetani. Clostridium tetani is a bacteria that causes tetanus. And what is this tetanus now? Well, I told you it is rapid muscle contraction. Okay, now if you have gone through locomotion and movement chapter already, or even in your 10th standard, you must have studied about how muscle contracts, right? So what happens there? Initially, a nerve, let me draw a nerve sends a signal, right? It sends a signal. Let me draw a big ending of the nerve, a big ending of the axon. Okay, so this is a nerve cell that has a very swelled up ending. Okay, it is swelled up because I have to draw something in there. Okay, so this nerve is sending us, will send an impulse. Okay, will send the information through neurotransmitters, right? They will have some chemicals here in vesicles which will be released, and when they are released onto the motor end plate of the muscles, let's say these are the muscles. Let's draw muscles in red color. Okay, because that is what most textbooks shows us. let's just draw a muscle. Okay, so these are the muscles. These are smooth muscles. Okay, now when these vesicles are released, the neurotransmitters are released here, these muscles will contract. Okay, simple as that. We know the drill. This is what happens. Now when this bacteria infects the human body, when it gets through the cut and wound, that the cut or the burn that we get, when this bacterium enters the body, what it does, it causes rapid release of this rapid release of neurotransmitters. So these neurotransmitters will be rapidly released without any reason. Okay, you will not feel like moving your hand. Even then, a part of that, a muscle of your hand would be moving like anything, like crazy. Okay, and that is because of tetanus bacteria. Don't write virus. Okay, it is a bacteria. Clostridium tetani is the name. So it causes rapid release of this neurotransmitter. Now what happens? There comes a time when all the neurotransmitters are used up. All the neurotransmitters are used up. Then when you feel like moving that particular part, the nerve do not have any neurotransmitter left in it to send the signal to the muscle, right? So when the time comes, when you feel like willingly moving that muscle, you will not be able to do that, because the chemical that is used by the nerves to send the signal will be over, because Clostridium tetani has caused rapid release of neurotransmitter already. Okay, and that is the reason we also say tetanus to be, we also give it another name. We call it locked jaw. This disease is also called locked jaw. Jaw, J-A-W. What is jaw? This part is called jaw. And when the rapid release of neurotransmitter has already happened there because of the effect of Clostridium tetani, what happens? The neurotransmitters are over, and when you feel like moving your jaw, you'll not be able to do that, and you feel like as if your jaws are locked. So that is why it is called locked jaw as well. So this was the story about TB and tetanus, which is again bacterial diseases, which is not very widely elaborated or mentioned in the human health and diseases chapter, but I have mentioned it here so that later when we discuss respiration and locomotion and we come across these two diseases, you will know that okay, these are bacterial diseases which we have learned already. Okay. All right, let's move ahead. This was all the story you had to learn about bacterial disease. Now let's move ahead and talk about viral diseases. Now for viral diseases, the only disease that's mentioned in our NCERT textbook is common cold. Common cold happens to you and me, common people like us. No, it happens to celebrity and big big names of it happens to big personalities as well. It's not like that. It is common cold because it is very common among people. Okay, and it infection happens very commonly, and it is caused by rhinovirus. So does this virus comes from rhinoceros? No. Rhino in biology means nose. Anything related to nose, we will use the term rhino. Okay, and we also use the term rhinitis. Rhinitis, which means infection and congestion in the nasal passage. Now, ma'am, is it something similar to pneumonia? Because even there, the respiratory tract was infected. Well, in pneumonia, where should I write? Let's draw the lungs, okay? Let's draw the lungs. In pneumonia, what happens, the lower part of the lungs or the alveoli which is present in the lower part of the lung is infected. And also pneumonia is a bacterial disease, but viral disease, common cold, is the one where lungs are not infected at all. This virus never reaches the lungs. It stays in the upper respiratory tract only. Nose, a little bit lower, the larynx, it stays there. It stays there for 7 to 10 days, and then it normally subsides without any issue. Okay, you have to go through this common cold problem for 7 to 10 days, and it will subside and you will feel better normally. Okay, so this is the story of common cold caused by rhinovirus, which troubles you for 7 to 10 days. And this is all you need to study about viral diseases in your according to your NCERT textbook. Okay, let us see what is written in the NCERT textbook now. Okay, many viruses also cause disease in human beings. We know that really well, right? Because our world was turned upside down by coronavirus. So how would I not, or you or anybody not know about viral diseases now? We are sitting in 2023 and we have gone through pandemic. Everyone knows what virus can cause. It can turn our life upside down. Virus, my God. So many viruses has also caused diseases in human beings. Rhinovirus, uh, what has happened? Okay, rhinovirus represent one such group of viruses which cause one of the most infectious human ailments, the common cold. They infect the nose and respiratory passage, but not the lungs. Now, whenever there is something very specific written in your NCERT, be alert, because this could be asked as a very confusing question. Now, there could be an option in your question that common cold infects lungs, nasal passage, and they would give multiple options there. Okay, now you would be like, okay, this is something related to our respiration only. I mean, we get a lot of mucus secretion and all of that happens. Definitely lungs is a part of our respiratory system, so maybe our lungs gets affected. But it's clearly mentioned here that our lungs are not affected. You see, our lungs are not affected. It's only in pneumonia that our lungs are affected, which is a bacterial disease. Okay. Now, the common cold is characterized by nasal congestion and discharge. You feel that blockage and discharge of a lot of mucus from your nose takes place, right? Sore throat, a kind of discomfort where you keep on doing that is sore throat. Hoarseness, your voice becomes really dense. Okay, you cough, you have headache, tiredness, etc., which usually last for 3 to 7 days. Oh, it remains for 3 to 7 days, and I wrote 7 to 10 days. Let's quickly fix this. Let's quickly fix this. This is a big blunder ma'am has caused. You cannot manipulate anything that's given in your NCERT when you are targeting NEET. Okay, so it's 3 to 7 days means 3 to 7 days, bhaiya. It has to be 3 to 7 days, nothing more or less than that. It is in our NCERT, so NCERT is our Bible, Gita, Quran when it comes to NEET, right? So 3 to 7 days is the time that this virus stays inside your body and cause discomfort, obviously. Droplets resulting from cough or sneeze of an infected person are either inhaled directly or transmitted through contaminated objects such as pens, books, cups, doorknobs, computer keyboards, or mouse, etc., and cause infection in a healthy person. And this kind of infection uh, from pen to mouse, whatever is written, this kind of infection is called indirect infection. Indirect. So COVID has taught us that we should not put our hand in our mouth, in our nose, into our eyes directly when we, without washing it properly. I mean, this is something normal hygiene or uh, basic hygiene that every person needs to follow in his daily life. But then we were not following those things, and that is why the COVID could spread like wildfire, right? But now after COVID, we human population have learned the lesson. Most of us are very careful. We still we still travel with our mask and with our sanitizers. We are very careful about where we eat, how not to come in contact with anyone who has some kind of infection, right? We have learned our lessons and learned it in a very tough way, right? We have lost so many loved ones all because of carelessness, right? This virus can turn our life upside down, as I told you, right? Okay. Okay. Then we have, let's get rid of this for now. Let's get rid of this and then talk about few more viral diseases. Well, again, let me tell you that these are not mentioned in your NCRT, but I have to give you these names because NTA can confuse you anytime with different options, and I don't want you to lose 4 marks because I have not taught you something extra. So these are not something which is hard and fast that you have to imprint in your mind, but every time you revise or go through it, just go through these points so that after once or twice going through these names, you will at least know that these are viral diseases. Okay, so one of them is measles, mumps, and German measles. Mumps is caused by paramyxovirus. Paramyxovirus. Measles is caused by rubeola virus. Rubeola virus. Okay. And then German measles is caused by rubella virus. Okay. Rubella virus. And there is a common vaccine for all these three viral diseases, which is called measles, mumps, and rubella. MMR. Measles, mumps, and rubella. This vaccine is often given to us when we are kids. It's a part of the vaccination that happens in India. So every one of us has got this measles, mumps, rubella vaccine, and these are very less prevalent nowadays. In mumps, you must have seen this. This infects your parotid glands, and the face swells up like anything. In measles, you get these red dots like this brother of yours has, right? And rubella again is similar to this one. Okay, then another very common viral disease that we get to see is poliomyelitis, which is caused by enterovirus. Okay, do you see what's happening to this friend of ours? One of the leg is very thin and weak, the other leg here is of perfect size, right? Now why is that? Why is this happening here? Why is it not infecting both the leg? Why? Well, it is because this enterovirus that causes polio, what it does, it infects the nerves that goes to one particular part of the body. Let's say the nerves that was signaling or giving signals to this part of to this leg, that nerve stopped working. So what would happen then? Then there will be no nerve impulse going to that body part. For example, this hand. Okay, the nerve that was sending impulse or instructions to this hand, it stopped working. So if it stops working, I'll not be able to move this hand. And if I don't use this hand for a very long time, for years and years, the muscles in my hand will stop uh, you know working. It will degenerate because we are not using it. Our body will feel that muscles here are of no use, so slowly and slowly it will degenerate, and this part will be very lean, thin, and smaller than the one which is active, the active hand. That is why you must have seen people going to the gym and using their muscles of all different body parts so that those muscles grow, right? They get that dole shole here and there. They build their biceps and triceps and abs and I don't know what not. Okay, so that was about polio virus, which is also known as poliomyelitis, caused by enterovirus, and it is because one of the body part, the muscles of one of the body part degenerates because the nerves are infected. The nerve stops working and the nerves fail to send any impulse. Then we have rabies. I'm pretty sure you know what rabies is. When a mad dog bites, you get rabies, right? Well, not true actually, because it's not just dogs. Dogs are poor dogs are very wrongly, what do you call it? Mm, what do you call it? They are the only ones who are blamed for rabies, but we have fox, jackals, bats, cats. We also have rabbits biting. If they happen to bite, then you might get rabies. But not all of them, okay? If a dog is infected by rabies virus and that dog happens to bite you, then you would get rabies. Now, have you heard that a person, if bitten by a mad dog, he gets hydrophobia? He also becomes mad because he cannot stand water. If he looks at water, he becomes really scared. He has hydrophobia. Well, these are all made up stories, okay? Maybe your parent told you to keep you away from stray dogs and cats. Maybe someone told you this story so that you don't go near cats, dogs, and all these stray animals. But actually, the hydrophobia is not that kind of hydrophobia. This hydrophobia is because when an animal bites you that has rabies, that rabies goes and infects the throat and this part so very badly that if you happen to drink or eat anything, you feel breathlessness. Okay, the person feels like he will die. Okay, it is so bad in there. Okay, and that is why every time like if you see someone suffering, what you would do, you will first go with water in your hand, right? Hey, have some water, drink some water. That is what a person does. And looking at water, the person would be like, take it away from me, take it away from me, because he fails to explain the condition that he feels that breathlessness and that as if someone is choking him. Okay, he fails to explain the situation to the other person, and that is why a person with rabies is said to be or said to have hydrophobia. And a person with rabies, a person infected by rabies is sure shot to die. It is 100% fatal. Okay, all right, so this was about rabies. Now let's move on to hepatitis. Hepatitis, you must have heard of hepatitis B, right? But hepatitis have other strains as well. Let me bring the hepatitis here. Okay. So hepatitis, as you can see, it has hepatitis A strain, B strain, C, D, E. It has G as well. Just like how coronavirus showed us different pictures, right? What are the different strains that came up? Coronavirus. Then I can't remember them. So weak memory I have. Coronavirus, one was dangerous, the first strain, the second one was less dangerous, right? So all these different strains came up. Similarly, for hepatitis also there are different strains, but hepatitis B is famous because all other strains of hepatitis, they are the genetic material is single stranded RNA. Okay, all other strains, but for hepatitis B the genetic material is double stranded DNA. Okay, that is why hepatitis B is most talked about. Okay, and hepatitis B infection is also very prevalent because it is transferred through blood transfusion. If the blood of an infected person is given to you without proper diagnosis, then you may get hepatitis B. And hepatitis B virus, and it is also a sexually transmitted disease. Okay, so this is hepatitis. Okay, so this was all about the viral disease. Now again, the main viral disease about which we will talk in detail is AIDS. We will talk about how it gets into the body, how it gets into our cells, how it makes a fool of our immune system, how it replicates inside our cell. Okay, we will talk everything about AIDS. What are the tools it brings along with into our body, and what it does with the tools it brings along. We will talk about it in detail in a very storytelling manner. You would love my AIDS class, I'm telling you. So we will keep that for another day, maybe tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow we will keep AIDS for tomorrow. We will talk about immunity, AIDS, cancer tomorrow. So AIDS is something which needs elaborate discussion, so we will talk about AIDS in the other class. Okay, so this was all you need to remember or talk about when it comes to viral diseases. Okay, so these are all the viral diseases you need to know. All right, so now let's, okay, so if you want you can take a screenshot of it. You can pause the video, take a screenshot. Okay, let us move ahead now and talk about helminth diseases. Now we have two different helminth diseases mentioned in our NCERT textbook. One is ascariasis and the other is elephantiasis. We have studied about them in lower classes as well, so I'm pretty sure you have an idea of what ascariasis is. It is a disease which is caused by Ascaris lumbricoides. Let's write the genetic name as well. Ascaris lumbricoides. Ascaris lumbricoides, which is also known as roundworm commonly. It infects the small intestine. That is why I have colored the small intestine. Do you see that? It infects the small intestine. Now, to get into our digestive tract, it has to be a fecal-oral contamination, right? It has to get into our body through food and water. So the eggs of Ascaris or the eggs of roundworm, it enters into our body through contaminated food and water, and then the eggs hatches and they develop into adult worms into in our intestine, small intestine, and then it multiplies so much in our small intestine. Where is this? Here. It multiplies so much in our small intestine that it can obstruct the flow of food through the small intestine. You can have constipation because this ascaris are balling up in your intestine and blocking the passage of food. It can be that dangerous. Okay, you must have seen pictures, or you can google about ascaris lumbricoides. You will see horrifying pictures or images where the intestine is cut off and doctor with gloves in hand is holding ascaris like these and taking out of the stomach. You will see like horrifying images of ascaris infection in humans. Okay, so this ascaris, they blocks the intestinal passage. So this happens in the last stage, but initially what it does, initially when the number is very less, what it does, it keeps eating the food that you eat. You will see that people who eats a lot, but even then he is lean and thin and diseased. Okay, no energy, because he is eating good food, but that food in the intestine is not allowed to be absorbed into the blood, but that is consumed by these worms, round worm that is inside the intestine. Okay, so that is why government of India has declared that every person should have at least in once in 6 months, once in 6 months, or once in every year, once every year, a person should have anti-helminthic drug, because we stay in a developing country, right? And the hygiene and sanitation here is not very proper, no matter how much you try. We go eat outside in the roadside stalls where the hygiene is not maintained very well, but out of taste, out of our taste buds craving, we go and eat at those places and infect ourselves with all these different deadly helminths. So once in every 6 months or every year, a person should have anti-helminthic drug to clear this infection from our body. Clear? Okay. Then the second is elephantiasis. We have this picture in our NCERT where the scrotum and one of the leg has become so big as if it looks like a elephant's foot, right? That is why this disease is called elephantiasis. And the helminth that causes this disease is called Wuchereria bancrofti. Okay. Now this Wuchereria bancrofti, how does it get into your body? Does it get into your body through food? Actually not. It gets into our body by mosquito bites. Female mosquito vector. So let's draw a mosquito here. Okay. It has, female mosquitoes has piercing mouth parts. So that way they can bite or pierce the skin. Okay, this is your hand, and this bad mosquito with Wuchereria bancrofti, it released this bad Wuchereria bancrofti helminth into your bloodstream. So this is your bloodstream where this Wuchereria bancrofti larval stage is released. Okay, now from the blood they go to the lymph nodes. They go to your lymph nodes. Okay, so let's say these are your lymph vessels. They go and block the lymph vessels. So these go and become adults in the lymph nodes. Okay, they go and become adults in the lymph nodes and pushes the fluid out of the lymph nodes. And when the fluid is pushed out of the lymph nodes into the tissues, what happens? That body part swells up. That body part swells up. And that swelling becomes permanent. Nothing could be done. Yes. Now, there could be two questions. First, ma'am, why does only a female mosquito bring in this vector? Even in case of malaria, we have heard that it is the female Anopheles mosquito that brings in this, brings the protozoan parasite Plasmodium. And here also in helminth, we have seen that it is the female mosquito that brings in the vector, acts as a vector, right? So why females only? Well, female mosquitoes have special mouth parts through which it can suck blood. First thing, male mosquitoes, they have sucking kind of mouth part with through which it can suck the nectar from flowers, but piercing and sucking kind of mouth part is present only in case of females. Okay, so first difference. And the second difference is females lay eggs, and for eggs they need good proteins and they need uh, iron. Okay, so that can be attained from human blood. That is why they suck human blood. They require human blood for their eggs. Got it? Second question is, why does this lymph fluid that gets out and this part becomes so big? Is it not possible for us to bring out that fluid and then reduce the size of it? Well, actually not. It happens gradually, slowly and slowly. The entire muscle area becomes so swollen that it becomes irreversible. The process becomes irreversible. And in case of males, the scrotum, do you see the scrotum here? The scrotum also becomes so swollen that that person becomes infertile. Now, looking at this image in your NCERT, most people assume that this is a disease that only happens to male. It's not true. It happens both to male and female. Okay, so this is the story of elephantiasis. Okay, elephantiasis is also known as filariasis. Filariasis. Why is that? Well, that is because this Wuchereria bancrofti worms or helminths are also known as filarial worms, and that is why this disease is also known as filariasis. Now let's have a quick look at what NCERT tells us. Okay, NCERT has mentioned that Ascaris, the common roundworm, and Wuchereria, the filarial worm, are some of the helminths which are known to be pathogenic to man. Okay, Ascaris, an intestinal parasite, causes ascariasis. We have learned already. Symptoms of this disease include internal bleeding, okay, muscular pain, fever, anemia, and blockage of intestinal passage. Okay, the eggs of the parasites are excreted along with the feces of infected person, which contaminate soil, water, plants, etc. Yes, this is again very important thing that's mentioned in our NCERT, that whenever this worms gets out of the infected person through the stool, it is sent out, right? And in the rural areas, the sanitation is not proper. It is dropped into the paddy fields, right, directly into the paddy fields, and those are used as fertilizers. From there, these worms get into our fruits and vegetables. So even though we are having fresh fruits and vegetables, it is very important for us to understand that it comes from those farms, like those farm areas where there could be infection of ascaris. So we should properly wash them before we use them or consume them, right? Okay. A healthy person acquires this infection through contaminated water, vegetables, fruits, etc. Okay. So this was about ascaris. Then Wuchereria. Wuchereria bancrofti or Wuchereria malay. Okay, these two strains are there of the filarial worm. The filarial worms cause a slowly developing chronic inflammation of the organs in which they live for many years, usually the lymphatic vessels of the lower limbs, and the disease is called elephantiasis or filariasis. The genital organs are also often affected, resulting in gross deformities. The pathogens are transmitted to a healthy person through the bite of female mosquito vectors. Okay, so these are the two helminth diseases mentioned in your NCERT textbook. You can quickly take a screenshot of it and we can then proceed. Okay, all right, let's proceed then. Okay. Next, we have fungal disease. We have just one fungal disease mentioned in our NCERT textbook, which is this one, caused by ringworm. You must have seen ads, a lot of ads in which patches, what has happened? In which you will see patches made in the skin, right? Patches like this. So what are these? It can happen in your skin, in your hair, in your nails. Okay, what are these? These are fungal infection, which is very common infection if you wear clothes which are not properly dried, if you don't take bath regularly, if you are sweating, but even then you are not changing your clothes and wearing the same clothes without washing them, you will get fungal infections, because fungus loves to grow in damp, humid, warm areas. So keep yourself very clean to keep your to save yourself from fungal diseases. Now let's see what NCERT has to say. Many fungi belonging to the genera Microsporum, Trichophyton, and Epidermophyton are responsible for ringworms. Ringworm can be caused by these three genera. Okay, one is Microsporum. Microsporum infects hair and skin. Now in many girls you must have seen that they have a very good hair. Okay, very good amount of hair in their head. Okay, this is, I'm drawing the back side of a girl with a ponytail. Okay, and then all of a sudden they get this fungal infection, and what happens, these are the hair that is flowing. Okay, then what happens, all of a sudden she will experience that there is a ring kind of appearance happening there, a part, a ring or a circular part that has no hair. Why? Because most girls, what they do, even after washing the hair, since it's very long, it stays damp and wet for a long time. But she has to go to school, and in the school it is a rule that the hair should be properly tied. So she ties her hair, okay, and then she gets this bad infection, right? So that is caused by the genera Microsporum. It also happens in the skin, like the one that you see here, right? It also happens in the skin. Then it happens in the nails and hairs. Okay, Trichophyton infects both skin, hair, and nails. Epidermophyton infects skin and nails. Okay, which is one of the most common infectious disease in men. Appearance of dry, scaly lesions on various parts of the body, such as skin and nails and scalp, are the main symptoms of the disease. These lesions are accompanied by intense itching. You feel like itching that part regularly. Okay, heat and moisture helps these fungi to grow, as I told you already, which makes them thrive in skin folds such as those in the groin. Groin is the genital area part between your legs or between the toes, okay, where they get a good place to stay in the humid areas. Ringworms are generally acquired from soil or by using, look at this, all the people staying in the hostels, look at this line, okay, using towels, clothes, or even the comb of infected individual. So you will have no clue that your friend may have this infection. It is something that itches, something that is gross. Will your friend tell you that, hey, I have got this fungal infection? He or she will not tell you. And in the hostel, you will use the friend's towel, use his clothes, his comb, like anything, and then you will have no idea where you got this infection from. You will be like, hey, I stay very clean, I stay very hygienic, I wash my clothes daily. Where did I get this infection from? Well, your friend gave you this infection. Okay, so this is fungal infection. This is the only fungal infection that you need to remember. This is the only thing that is in the NCERT. You need to remember Microsporum, Trichophyton, Epidermophyton. All right. Okay, then let's talk about a little bit that's in your NCRT. A long paragraph, but this is the last part of the disease. So NCRT has given it in a little bit of elaboration. So let us study what's in there. Maintenance of personal and public hygiene is very important for prevention and control of many infectious diseases. I cannot emphasize more on this. COVID has taught us all already, right? Measures for personal hygiene includes keeping the body clean. So if you are preparing for NEET and you feel like I don't have time to take a bath, there is so much stress, there is so much to study, bathing can wait. No, you may pick up infections that will hamper your study even more. And scientifically it has been proven that if you take a cold shower, you feel calm, your brain feels like you are restarting it, as if you restart your phone or your computer, right? So taking a cold shower is very helpful for your body, very helpful for your memory, very helpful for in every aspect. Okay, it will help in better concentration. So it's very important to keep your body clean, especially all the NEET aspirants. This is written in your NCRT textbook, keeping in mind all the NEET aspirants. Okay, then we have consumption of clean drinking water, food, vegetables, fruits, etc. Public hygiene includes proper disposal of waste and excreta, periodic cleaning and disinfection of water reservoirs. That's why you must have seen people coming in from the government bodies to ask you if your cooler has no stagnant water, if you're keeping your surroundings clean or not, right? They have these surveys regularly every year. uh, okay, these measures are particularly essential where the infectious agents are transmitted through food and water, such as typhoid, amoebiasis. We'll study about it in some time. It is a protozoan disease, amoebiasis. Okay, and ascariasis. In cases of airborne diseases such as pneumonia and common cold, in addition to the above measures, close contact with the infected person or their belongings should be avoided. Please avoid using anything from a person about whom you don't know much. He may have a fungal or other infection which you may pick up with very careless action of yours, maybe by using a t-shirt or using the comb, right? Please do not do that. For diseases such as malaria and filariasis that are transmitted through insect vectors, the most important measure is to control or eliminate the vectors and their breeding places. Oh my god, this is so important, right? You must have seen people spraying DDT and all those mosquito repellent. These are very very useful because mosquitoes are the number one vectors that brings in all different types of diseases to human life, right? So keep your surroundings clean, don't let any stagnant water stay in and around your home. All right, this can be achieved by avoiding stagnation of water in and around residential areas, regular cleaning of household coolers, use of mosquito nets, very useful, which is very underrated nowadays because we have all outs and all sort of liquid mosquito repellents nowadays, right? But use of mosquito net is environmental friendly and is the best practice, right? So use of mosquito nets is very useful. Introduction of fishes like gambusia in ponds that feed on mosquito larvae. This is such a wonderful biological control of vectors. Gambusia in ponds that feeds on mosquito larvae. Since we have this name mentioned specifically in our NCRT textbook, there are high chances that you might get options like this or questions like these. Okay, so what this gambusia fish does in the water body, if these fishes are present, they can feed on the larva of mosquito because mosquito lays eggs in the water, right? Okay, spraying of insecticide in ditches, drainage areas and swamps, etc. In addition, doors and windows should be provided with wire mesh to prevent the entry of mosquito. Most people generally have these in their places, right? Such precautions have become all the more important, especially in the light of recent widespread incidents of the vector-borne Aedes mosquito disease like dengue and chikungunya in many parts of India. Aedes chikungunya, sorry, chikungunya and dengue by Aedes mosquito. Again, very, very important. Very, very important. Aedes mosquito causes dengue and chikungunya. Okay, so this is, since it is in the NCERT, very important that we remember the mosquito name, the vector name, and the disease. Aedes disease, dengue, and chikungunya. The advancement made in the biological science have armed us to effectively deal with many infectious diseases. The use of vaccines and immunization programs have enabled us to completely eradicate a deadly disease like smallpox. We no longer have smallpox. Why? Because of Edward Jenner. Edward Jenner was a scientist who came up with the idea behind the smallpox vaccine, right? And we no longer have this in our society because it is completely eradicated. Okay, a large number of other infectious diseases like polio, diphtheria, pneumonia, and tetanus have been controlled to a large extent by the use of vaccines. What are vaccines now? What exactly vaccine has? Is it like a magical portion that is injected in our body and we become like superhumans which could not be affected by all these viruses? Well, we will study all about vaccines when we discuss immunity. Okay, vaccine again is a wonderful, wonderful part of this particular chapter. A large number of other, okay, biotechnology, about which you will read more in chapter 12. Again, from here you get maximum number of question nowadays because biotechnology is the applied part of science, right? So you get a lot of questions from biotechnology nowadays. We will study about it in detail. Okay, is at the verge of making available newer and safer vaccines, discovery of antibiotics, and various other drugs has also enabled us to effectively treat infectious diseases, right? We will read about antibiotics, antibodies, all of that when we study immunity. Okay, so this was the last part of disease of your NCERT textbook, but we have not discussed a very very important part of disease, which is what? The protozoan disease, the disease whose life cycle is mentioned in our NCERT textbook, and we have not touched that portion yet. Malaria, which is caused by a protozoan parasite, Plasmodium. What causes malaria? Malaria is caused by a protozoan parasite called Plasmodium. Plasmodium parasite. Now, it is something I'm very sure most of you have already heard about or you have seen people infected by malaria. Now, what actually happens? Okay, let's study the life cycle and understand how it gets into the human body. Okay, first of all, the vector here. Very important to understand the vector here. Vector here is the female Anopheles mosquito. Okay, then this female Anopheles mosquito brings in the Plasmodium and sends it to and leaves it onto the human blood, right? So number 2 is here the host. Host here is human body. But wait, this Plasmodium, it also spends some amount of their life cycle in the mosquito's body as well. So mosquito here is not a vector only. It is not only the carrier of this disease, but also equally infected by this plasmodium parasite. So here female Anopheles mosquito is host number 1 or the primary host, and human body is host number 2 or the secondary host. Now why Anopheles mosquito is the primary host? Whenever a parasite or a pathogen spends its sexual life in one living organism, that organism is said to be the primary host. But in human body, it spends its asexual life or the growing phase. There is no sexual reproduction inside human body. That is why human body is said to be the secondary host. Okay, so in case of malaria, female Anopheles mosquito is the primary host and also the vector of the disease, and secondary human body is the secondary host. Okay, understood. All right, now let's talk about the life cycle. First of all, this female Anopheles mosquito will bring in this plasmodium parasite, okay, this plasmodium parasite, and leave on to the human blood. Okay, they would be left into human blood. Now the stage that is left in, that is uh, you know that is first allowed to go into the human blood is called the sporozoites. What is it called? It is called the sporozoites. Okay, sporozoites. Very, 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 very important. You will get multiple questions in and around this particular term, sporozoites. So sporozoites are first left into human blood. Okay, human blood has what? It has RBCs, right? It has RBCs. But the sporozoites, what it does, it do not infect the RBC first. It is like, no, 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 we cannot tackle the RBCs now. We need to grow and increase in number first. So within half an hour, it goes to the liver. Okay. In the liver, what happens? In the liver, let's make some liver cells here. In the liver, asexual reproduction or caesogony happens. Okay, a lot of it increases the number inside the liver cells. Okay, it increases the number inside the liver cells. This is through multiple fission, but again, this is asexual reproduction. Okay, this is asexual reproduction or multiple fission, or it is also known as caesogony. Now, if it is not mentioned in your NCERT textbook, any term that I use which is not in your NCERT textbook, please do not take the unnecessary burden of remembering those, because you will not get questions in your NCERT. In your NEET exam. Okay. So this is the picture that you see in your NCERT textbook, right? So here it is written, when the mosquito bites another human, sporozoites are injected with bite. Sporozoites, very important term, you have to remember this term. Okay, parasites, sporozoites, reach the liver through blood. First it enters blood, then from the blood it goes to the liver. Okay, understood. The parasite reproduce asexually in the liver cells, bursting the cells and release into blood. Okay. Now what happens? Now here you need to understand, it multiplies a lot of time. Okay, it multiplies so much that finally it bursts those liver cells. Okay, burst those liver cells and they are released out. Okay, released out, and they will now take two routes. Few of them will go and infect fresh liver cells. Well, this is something that goes on multiple times. Okay, and when a lot of liver cells are infected, a lot of liver cells are infected, a good amount of your liver is already infected, then when they rupture and release this parasites, these parasites, they feel like, okay, we have done enough damage to the liver. Now we are we are like a big army now. We can now tackle RBCs. So now let's go to the blood vessels and take care of RBCs. Let's go to the RBCs, kill the RBCs. That is what their plan is. Okay, so these parasites, they go invade the RBCs, and inside the RBC also they increase in number. Again, asexual reproduction through multiple fission. They will multiply like crazy inside the RBC. So what is written here? Parasites reproduce asexually in the red blood cells, bursting the red blood cells and causing cycles of fever and other symptoms. Released parasites infect new blood cells. Now, they infect RBCs, that we understood. They multiply a lot, that we understood. But why are they getting fevers? Why is it written that they get fever? Well, that is because this parasite, when they are reproducing inside the RBC, they break down the hemoglobin. Okay, they break down the hemoglobin. They break down the hemoglobin. So the hemoglobin has two parts. One is hem and the other is the globin part, right? So the globin part is a protein part, which this parasite they consume. Okay, but this hem part, they are broken down. This hem part is broken down, and this broken down hem part is called hemozoin. Okay, now after repeated multiplication inside the RBC, and when there is this time when the RBC cannot accommodate this parasite anymore, this RBC they burst. Okay, the RBC bursts and they release all these hemozoin, which was unconsumed hemozoin is released. And every time this unconsumed hemozoin is released, this unconsumed hemozoin is what? Toxin, right? So every time this toxin is released into the blood, a person will get fever. So hemozoin is responsible for fever. Okay, and these parasites, after the RBC burst, they go and infect fresh RBCs. Okay, and this cycle continues until they infect a lot of RBC. So they can go and infect fresh liver cells as well. Again, from here, from the RBC, they can go and infect fresh liver cell as well. Or few of them, they might think that okay, enough is enough, we have done enough damage to this person. Okay, we have damaged his liver, we have damaged his RBCs, we have done enough damage. Okay, let's leave this person now, let us take sannyas. Okay, let us take sannyas. So these parasites, what they will do, they will form gametocytes. Yes, they will form gametocytes. The small one that you see here is the male gametocyte, which is inside an RBC. Let us make RBC in pure red color. Okay, so this is a male gametocyte inside an RBC. This is a female gametocyte inside an RBC. Okay, these sporozoids, not sporozoids, these parasites from the RBC, what they would do, some will go infect liver, some will go infect new red blood cells, and some will form these gametocytes. These gametocytes. This is female gametocyte and this is male gametocyte. Okay, and they will go to the body surface where mosquito can pick up these gametocytes. Okay, they will migrate to the body surfaces. Now these gametocytes, they cannot cause any problem to human body. Okay, it is only when the RBCs are broken down, the liver cells are broken down, it affects the human body. But these gametocytes, they have no pathogenicity. Okay, so they go to the body surfaces. All right, then what happens, these mosquito, they come and pick up these gametocytes. Okay, they come and pick up these gametocytes. These gametocytes, when picked up by Female Anopheles mosquitoes again. Let's draw a mosquito now again. Okay, these are mosquitoes. They picked up these gametocytes. Then these gametocytes inside the mosquito's gut. This is not blood vessels. Inside the gut of the mosquito, these gametocytes will form gametes. They will fuse, and inside the cells of these of the gut of the mosquito, they will form a zygote. Okay, zygote, and from the zygote, sporozoites will form. Okay, first let's write fertilization. Male and female fertilization will take place, and they will migrate to the cells of the gut, and slowly they will form sporozoites. There are multiple stages like ookinete, oocyst stage, which we don't need to discuss about because that's not there in our NCRT. Okay, and then they will form sporozoites. They will form sporozoites. Sporozoites is the infective stage of human, the one that was released into the human, right? Now to release that sporozoite into the human, the mosquito needs to have that in their salivary gland. So these sporozoites slowly migrate to the salivary gland of the mosquito, right? Salivary gland of the mosquito, so that when the mosquito goes and bites another human being, this sporozoites or infective stage is released into the blood. So this cycle continues, and the person is affected by malaria, and he gets repeated repeated occurrence of fever and chills. Okay, so this was the story of malaria. Let's study, let's read about the part that we didn't discuss here. The gametophytes are formed. Sexual stage, gametocyst develop in the red blood cells. We discussed this already. Then from here, female mosquito takes up the gametocytes with red blood cells. Okay, we understood this part. Then fertilization and development take place in the mosquito's intestine, in the gut. We understood that as well. Mature infective stage, sporozoites escape from intestine and migrate to the mosquito's salivary gland, because it is only from there it can jump into the human body when the mosquito bites, right? When the mosquito bites another human, sporozoites are injected with the bite. Okay, now there can be a question in your mind like, hey, come on, why can't they reproduce inside the human body? Because they have already done so much damage to the human body. They have infected the liver, they have infected the blood RBCs. I mean, what is left? They could have sexually reproduced inside human only. Why to go into a mosquito? Well, the reason is humans are warm-blooded animal, and these mosquitoes, they are cold-blooded, and this temperature difference is essential for this protozoan parasite Plasmodium to reproduce. So they use mosquito for sexual reproduction and human being for asexual reproduction. And for any organism that allows sexual reproduction, that is called the primary host. This one, female Anopheles mosquito, and human beings are the secondary host. Okay, so this is all you need to know about malaria. Let's study what's given in our NCRT textbook about malaria. Okay, so we will underline whatever is important. Some of the human diseases are caused by protozoans too. Yes, we know malaria is one of them. You might have heard about malaria, a disease man has been fighting since many years. Yes. Plasmodium, a tiny protozoan, is responsible for this disease. Different species of Plasmodium. Oh, this is so important. How did I not tell you this? Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium malariae, Plasmodium falciparum. There is another one, Plasmodium ovale. Okay, out of which Plasmodium falciparum is the most deadly one, the one that causes malignant. You will come across this term when you study cancer. Okay, malignant malaria, because this causes death of a person. Are responsible for different types of, these are the different types of Plasmodium parasite. of this malignant, malignant malaria is caused by Plasmodium falciparum, is the most serious one and can even be fatal. So try to remember these names. The way I remember is that the one which has the longest name, falciparum, the longest name, right, that is the deadliest one. Okay, so the deadliest one is Plasmodium falciparum, which causes the serious one and can be fatal. Okay, let us take a glance at the life cycle of Plasmodium. We have already taken a glance, my dear, but let's see what NCERT has written, right? Plasmodium enters the human body as sporozoites. Oh my god, this word is so important, so important, which is the infectious form, right? Through the bite of infected female Anopheles mosquito. The parasites initially multiply within the liver cells. Okay, first they infect the liver cells, not the RBCs, and then they attack the red blood cells, first liver cells, then RBCs, resulting in their rupture. The rupture of RBC is associated with release of toxin substance known as hemozoin. Yes, we know, which is responsible for the chills. A person gets chills and high fever reoccurring every 3 to 4 days, because the cycle that takes place through which the bursting of RBC takes place takes around 3 to 4 days, right? Once the RBCs are burst, hemozoin is released, a person will get fever, chills, and all of that. And again, the cycle continues, right? Again, the RBCs will be attacked, reproduction inside the RBCs will take place, and rupturing of RBC will take place, and that would again take another 3 to 4 days. So this happens multiple times. When a female Anopheles mosquito bites an infected person, these parasites enter the mosquito's body and undergo further development. The parasites multiply within them to form sporozoites again that are stored in their salivary glands. Yes, when these mosquitoes bite a human, the sporozoites are introduced into his or her body, thereby initiating the events mentioned above. This cycle continues. It is interesting to know that the malarial parasite requires two hosts, human and mosquitoes, to complete its life cycle. Okay, the female Anopheles mosquito is the vector transmitting agent too. It is a host, primary host, and the vector as well. Okay, so this was about the protozoan parasite Plasmodium that causes malaria. Okay, now let's quickly move on to the last parasite of human health and diseases, which is caused by the protozoan parasite again, Entamoeba histolytica, that infects the large intestine. Okay, and the infective stage here is a tetranucleate cyst, and housefly is the carrier. Again, it gets into the human body through contaminated food and water, and then reaches the large intestine. In the large intestine, again it feeds on not just the food that the person eats, but also on the mucosa and submucosa layer of the large intestine. It feeds on that. Entamoeba histolytica. Okay, it feeds on that, and that is why the rupture of that of your large intestine takes place. You have stool with blood. Okay, it is dead dangerous, and you the person also get dysentery, which is also that is why amoebiasis is also known as amoebic dysentery. Amoebic dysentery. Dysentery means stool with blood. Okay, so this was the last pathogen or parasite, Entamoeba histolytica. Again, the important thing here to understand is the tetranucleate cyst. Here we get a cyst that has 4 nucleus in it, which when enters the stomach of the human being, it enters, and the outer covering or the outer coating, the outer coating is dissolved by the acid of the stomach, of the human stomach, and these 4 cysts, they go and multiply in our large intestine and create a havoc in our large intestine. But what's important for us to remember here is the name of the parasite, Entamoeba histolytica, that causes amoebiasis or amoebic dysentery. And another important thing to remember is the infective stage, which is a tetranucleate cyst, and housefly is the carrier. The housefly brings in that tetranucleate cyst, sits on the food that is uncovered. We consume that food, and that is how it gets into our body and causes havoc to anyone who is infected. Okay, so with this, I have completed all the disease that is mentioned in our human health and diseases. We have run out of time. We have studied for 2 hours already. So immunity has to go to another class, right? So I hope you enjoyed the lecture today. You enjoyed reading about all these different diseases, about the life cycle of different protozoan and helminth disease, fungal disease, right? Now, and in our next class, we will study about immunity, AIDS, cancer, and drug abuse. Okay, so see you all in the next class. And again, in the next class, I will also come up with questions from this particular chapter that was previously asked, so that our question practice is also done hand in hand, right? We have discussed all of these diseases elaborately. We have underlined and understood what is written in the NCRT, and what is left, PYQs are left, right? PYQs and question practice is left. So next class, we will start with PYQs, question practice, and then we will start with immunity. Cool? Okay. See you all in the next class. Bye-bye.